Welcome to Game Learn English. Today we're diving into one of the most useful and versatile aspects of English grammar, English conditionals. Whether you're a beginner or looking to polish your skills, this video will help you master conditionals and use them like a pro. But first, what exactly are conditionals? Simply put, they're sentences that express cause and effect. If this happens, then that will happen. They help us talk about real and imaginary situations, consequences, and possibilities. We'll cover 4 main types of conditionals: 0, first, second, and third. Each type has its own structure and purpose. Ready to jump in? Let's go. Let's start with the 0 conditional. This one's all about general truths and scientific facts. The structure is simple. If plus present simple, present simple. For example, if you heat ice, it melts. Notice how we use the present simple in both parts of the sentence. This is because we're talking about something that's always true. More examples. If you don't water plants, they die. If it rains, the ground gets wet. The 0 conditional is perfect for describing natural laws, scientific facts, or general truths. It's like saying, this always happens in this situation. Use 0 conditional for scientific facts, general truths, automatic results. Now let's move on to the first conditional. This one's about real and possible situations in the future. The structure here is, if plus present simple will plus infinitive. For instance, if it rains tomorrow, I will stay at home. We use the present simple after if to talk about a possible future situation, and will in the main clause to talk about the result. More examples. If you study hard, you will pass the exam. If we don't hurry, we will miss the train. The first conditional is great for making predictions, talking about likely future events, or describing cause and effect in real situations. Use first conditional for likely future events, real possibilities, warnings or promises. Here's a tip. You can also use other modal verbs instead of will, like can, may, or might, to express different levels of certainty. Variations. If it rains, I might stay at home. If you finish early, you can join us. Moving on to the second conditional. This one's for imaginary or unlikely situations in the present or future. The structure is, if plus past simple would plus infinitive. For example, if I won the lottery, I would travel the world. We use the past simple after if to talk about an unlikely or imaginary situation, and would in the main clause to talk about its result. More examples. If I had more time, I would learn Japanese. If she knew the answer, she would tell you. The second conditional is perfect for daydreaming, discussing hypothetical situations, or giving advice. Use second conditional for unlikely situations, imaginary scenarios, giving advice. Remember, even though we use the past simple, we're not talking about the past. We're talking about an unreal present or future. Note, past simple is not equal to past time. It refers to unreal present/future. You can also use could or might instead of would to express different possibilities. Variations. If I won the lottery, I could buy a mansion. If it stopped raining, we might go for a walk. Last but not least, let's talk about the third conditional. This one's for imaginary situations in the past. The structure here is, if plus past perfect would have plus past participle. For instance, if I had studied harder, I would have passed the exam. We use the past perfect after if to talk about an imaginary past situation, and would have plus the past participle in the main clause to talk about its imaginary result. More examples. If she had known about the party, she would have come. If we had left earlier, we wouldn't have missed the flight. The third conditional is great for expressing regrets, talking about things that didn't happen in the past, or imagining different outcomes for past events. Use third conditional for regrets, imaginary past situations, hypothetical past results. It's important to note that the third conditional always refers to the past. We're talking about things that didn't actually happen, but we're imagining what could have been different. Remember, third conditional equals imaginary past. You can also use could have or might have instead of would have to express different levels of possibility. Variations. If I had studied harder, I could have gotten a better grade. If the weather had been better, we might have gone to the beach. Mixing conditionals. Sometimes you might need to mix different types of conditionals. This is perfectly fine as long as it makes logical sense. For example, if I had studied harder at school, third, I would have a better job now, second. In this example, we're mixing the third and second conditionals. The if clause refers to the past while the main clause refers to the present. Another example, if I won the lottery, second, I would have bought a house by now, third. Here we're mixing the second and third conditionals. The if clause is an unlikely present situation, while the main clause is an imaginary past result. Conditionals in context. Now let's look at how conditionals are used in different contexts and situations. 1. Making plans. First, conditionals are great for making plans that depend on certain conditions. Examples. If the weather is nice this weekend, we'll go to the beach. If I finish work early, I'll meet you for dinner. These sentences show how future plans depend on certain conditions being met. 2. Giving advice. Second conditionals are often used for giving advice or making suggestions. Examples. If I were you, I would apologize to her. If he asked me, I would recommend the Italian restaurant. These sentences allow us to give advice by imagining ourselves in someone else's situation. 3. Expressing regrets. Third conditionals are perfect for expressing regrets about past actions or situations. Examples. If I had known about the concert, I would have bought tickets. If we hadn't taken that shortcut, we wouldn't have gotten lost. These sentences allow us to imagine how things could have been different if we had made different choices in the past. For negotiating. Conditionals can be very useful in negotiations or when making deals. Examples. If you lower the price, we'll buy in bulk. If you can deliver by Friday, we would place a larger order. Notice how we can use different types of conditionals depending on how realistic or likely the conditions are. 5. Making excuses. Conditionals can also be used to make excuses or explain why something didn't happen. Examples. If the alarm had gone off, I wouldn't have been late. If the traffic hadn't been so bad, I would have arrived on time. These third conditional sentences explain past events and why things didn't go as planned. Conditionals in everyday speech. Now let's look at how conditionals are used in everyday conversations. Informal conditionals. In casual speech, people often use shortened forms of conditionals. Examples. If I were you, I'd apologize. Instead of I would. If it rains, we'll stay in. Instead of we will. It's also common to hear the if clause at the end of the sentence in spoken English. Examples. We'll go to the beach if the weather's nice. I would have called you if I'd known you were in town. Another informal usage is omitting if altogether and inverting the subject and verb. Examples. Were I you, I'd take the job. Instead of if I were you. Had I known earlier, I would have told you. Instead of if I had known. These forms are more common in formal or literary English, but you might hear them in everyday speech too. Conditionals in formal English. In more formal contexts like academic writing or business communications, you might encounter some variations of conditionals. Examples. Should you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Were the proposal to be accepted, significant changes would be implemented. These forms often use inversion, putting the verb before the subject, and can sound quite formal. Alternative if words. While if is the most common word used in conditionals, there are other words and phrases that can be used to express similar ideas. Alternative of words. Unless, as long as, provided that, assuming that, on condition that. Let's look at some examples. Examples. Unless it rains, we'll have the picnic. 0/first conditional. As long as you work hard, you'll succeed. First conditional. Provided that the funds are available, we would proceed with the project. Second conditional. Assuming that the flight had been on time, we would have made the connection. Third conditional. These alternatives can add variety to your English and help you express conditions more precisely in different contexts. Practice time. Now let's put your knowledge to the test with some practice exercises. Fill in the blanks with the correct form of the verbs. Pause the video and try to answer these questions. Ready? Let's check the answers. Answers. 1. If it rains tomorrow, we will cancel the picnic. First conditional. 2. If I were you, I would take the job offer. Second conditional. 3. If we had left earlier, we wouldn't have missed the train. Third conditional. How did you do? Remember, practice makes perfect when it comes to conditionals. Conditionals in real life. To wrap up, let's look at some real-life situations where you might use conditionals. Scenario 1. Job interview. In a job interview, you might use conditionals to talk about your skills and potential contributions. Example: if I were to join your team, I would bring my experience in digital marketing to help expand your online presence. This second conditional shows how you could contribute in a hypothetical situation. Scenario 2. Making plans with friends. When making plans, first conditionals are your go-to. Example: if the weather is good on Saturday, we'll go for a hike. If not, we can watch a movie instead. This shows how your plans depend on future conditions. Scenario 3. Discussing missed opportunities. Third conditionals are perfect for talking about past regrets or missed chances. Example: if I had invested in Bitcoin back in 2010, I would be a millionaire now. This expresses a regret about a past decision and its imaginary present result. Here are 3 examples for each type of conditional. 0 conditional, general truths or facts. 1. If you mix red and blue, you get purple. 2. If it rains, the grass gets wet. 3. If you don't water plants, they die. First conditional, real and possible situations in the future. 1. If you study hard, you will pass the exam. 2. If she calls, I will answer immediately. 3. If they invite us, we will go to the party. Second conditional, unlikely or hypothetical situations. 1. If I were you, I would take that job. 2. If I had $1 million, I would buy a house by the beach. 3. If he knew the truth, he would be shocked. Third conditional, past situations with imagined results. 1. If I had woken up earlier, I would have caught the bus. 2. If they had studied, they would have passed the test. 3. If we had left on time, we wouldn't have missed the flight. Mixed conditionals, combining past and present situations. 1. If I had taken that job, I would be living in New York now. 2. If she had told me earlier, I wouldn't be in this mess now. 3. If they had saved more money, they would be able to buy a house now. Final tips. Before we conclude, here are some final tips to help you master conditionals. 1. Practice regularly. 2. Pay attention to tenses. 3. Listen for conditionals in native speech. 4. Try using different types in your conversations. 5. Don't be afraid to mix conditionals when appropriate. Remember, mastering conditionals takes time and practice. Don't get discouraged if you make mistakes. They're a natural part of the learning process. And there you have it, a comprehensive guide to English conditionals. We've covered the 4 main types, common mistakes to avoid, and how to use conditionals in various real-life situations. 0 conditional, general truths. First conditional, likely future events. Second conditional, unlikely present/future situations. Third conditional, imaginary past situations. Conditionals are a powerful tool in English, allowing you to express complex ideas about cause and effect, real and imaginary situations, and past regrets. With practice, you'll be using them like a native speaker in no time. Thanks for watching and good luck with your English learning journey. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe for more English language tips and tricks. Until next time, keep practicing those conditionals. This is Game Learn English signing off.